Yes, folks, it's Tales from the Jails with John G. Sutton. Do please, ladies and gentlemen, do please like and subscribe. It really helps. Let's talk today. People have asked me to talk about this. I mean, it's not a subject that everybody believes in. I personally do. But it's about haunted prisons. Certainly I'm going to talk today about what happened to me at Wormwood Scrubs. It's recounted in my first book, so if you really want to get into the depths of it, it's in there. But one instance was I was patrolling the landings at one lunchtime when I was in virtual lockdown because the staff were away for lunch, and I heard this bang, 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 enormous banging on a cell door. It was on C2 landing. So I went to this cell door, looked inside, and honestly, there was stuff all over the place, smashed all over the place, and it seemed to me that the furniture in there was like moving around of its own volition off the floor. So I opened the cell door. I shouted down to the principal officer downstairs I was going to do this because I felt there was a need, and when I opened the door, this one inmate threw himself out onto the floor on the landing, and he was like shaking all over, like he was having some kind of epileptic fit, which it wasn't. He was just terrified. And the other two guys got them out of the cell. I said, "What the hell's going on here?" The beds were twisted up, the lockers were smashed about the place. There was all the contents of the cell were. It was like a bomb had hit it. So I said, "Come on, what's going on here? What have you been doing this for?" And they said, we haven't done it. We haven't done it. We didn't do this. I said, "Well, somebody did it, so come on, tell me what's happened." So what had happened was they did a homemade Ouija board. And they said that they were playing on this homemade Ouija board that they put on a chair and put a glass in the middle or a cup or whatever it was, and it had spelled out something like "You will all die." And they said, and no sooner did it do that, it spelled that out, then everything started to move about. The beds lifted off the floor, lockers started flying from one side to the other, and it smashed the place to bits. He said at that point we started banging on the door, shouting for help, and that's when you arrived. The inmate that had thrown himself onto the floor of the landing, I had to get the hospital staff to come and take him away. I don't know where they took him. I think they took him to one of the padded cells in the hospital wing. But they had obviously released something, quite potentially a kind of a poltergeist, into the cell, and it had smashed the place up. Something similar had happened to me a long time before that, when I was in Germany, in the barracks at Dempsey Barracks near Paderborn, Senilager near Paderborn. And I'd been doing something similar, playing with but it was a proper Ouija board, and it had spelt out, because one of the blokes in the room was laughing at this. "You're all nuts, it's a lot of nonsense, that." And the Ouija board spelled out, "The man who laughs won't be laughing long," and stuff like that, So I said, his name was Stanley, by the way. I said, "Stanley, it's going to get you, mate." Anyway, we finished that. We had a couple of beers and went back to our own rooms and left Stanley in his. It was his room, you see. And the next morning, Stanley came into my room about 8 o'clock. As it was a Sunday morning, it was quite early. He said, "You're a maniac, you, Sutton." I said, "What do you mean?" I said, "I've been in bed since about 11 o'clock last night when we finished drinking in your room." He said, "You'd better come and have a look at what you've done." I said, "What have I done? I've not been in bed." So I went to his room, and it was smashed to bits, very similar to the cell. Big metal bed all twisted up, metal locker bent in half, the entire room wrecked. He said this kicked off about midnight, shortly after you'd left. He said, and I spent the night hiding under the mattress on the floor. He said, I thought it was you gone mad. I said, believe me, I haven't been nowhere near it. So I knew that these things happened. Yeah. I was also on D-Wing while we're dealing with the Scrubs. And I was on nights on D-Wing. And particular, be about 12:15, something like that. I heard this alarm bell ring on, it was on D4 landing, right at the far end of D4 landing. So I went up to the top to see what was going on. And there was the inmate right in the right end cell. And I popped his tally back up and said, yeah, what's the matter? Why are you ringing your alarm bell at this time of night? What's the problem? He said, there's a woman in my room, boss. He said, a woman in my room staring at me. I said, no, there's no woman in your room. I said, this is a man's prison. I said, there's no women in this place at all. I said, and be assured, that there is nothing to be worried about. You've just woken up from a dream and believe that this is part of reality, but it's just a dream. He said, you were standing next to my bed. I said, nobody's standing next to your bed. You're perfectly okay. It took me about 15-20 minutes to talk him down. So anyway, during this time I should have been logging the key. I had to turn a key every half an hour, to register the fact that you've been patrolling the landings. So I obviously missed that one at midnight. But I made a note in the incident book, what I'd done. Of course, at 6:30 next morning, the senior officer came round to check everything. He said, you missed a call at 12:30. He said, I want to know why you did that. I said, I've written it in the incident book. This is... an alarm bell rang at midnight, and I went to answer it, and it took me 20 minutes to calm the inmate down because he was extremely terrified. Said there was a woman standing at the side of his bed. He said, did he describe? I said, she had like a grey uniform on, He said, which cell was it? So I told him which cell it was. I said, but I advised him, don't worry. I said, this is an all-male prison, There's no females in here. And the senior officer said, yeah, you're right. There isn't any females in here now. He said, but prior to World War II, there were female inmates held in D-Wing. He said, and on that particular landing at the far end cell, by all accounts, from what I've been told, and he'd been there about 20 years, he said, by all accounts, from what I'm told, there was a female in there, and they used to allow them to keep the babies with them for 6 months after the babies were born, if they were born in prison. And then they took the babies away. And they took this woman's baby away, who was the resident in the far end cell on D4 landing. And she couldn't take it. She emotionally had an emotional breakdown and threw herself off the top landing, fell to the ground and dead. He said, so there used to be women in this particular prison block. And with that, off he went. So I'm absolutely sure that there is something going on. And I believe in spirits, actually, because I'm a confirmed spiritualist. I believe that you can communicate with this world and the next. And yes, folks, it's that time of day. If you like that story, there's quite a bit in book 1 of mine. That's the song dinger. So all you sensitive souls out there, people like Larry who can't take it, it's got a goat though. Anyway, here we go. I'm going to sing you a song. It's not much singing, is it? It's more like torture. Oh, before we go any further, you've got to be careful about thinking about going to the USA. They've gone bloody mad. They're locking people up for all kinds of nonsense, putting them in detention centres. Gitmos open up. They've added 30,000 places for illegal migrants, and they're shipping people out of America and sticking them in Gitmo, Guantanamo Bay. Stay away from that place, and my prediction is there's going to be civil unrest in America, and that nutcase, Trump, is going to put the troops on the street, and he's going to use something called the Insurrection Act to do so. Mark my words, round about the end of April. There we go, little prediction from Psychic John. Anyway, this is me singing. It's a Chris Christopherson song. I like Chris Christopherson. He's probably where he is now, I don't know, but I used to listen to his songs all the time in the 70s. But here we are, 50 years later. Hey, time flies by. Do you like my handlebar moustache? Anyway, here we go. Help me make it through the night. And if you make it through this song, you're a better man than I am, Gunga Din. Take the ribbons from your hair, shake it loose and let it fall. Lay it soft upon my skin, like the shadows on the wall. Come and lay down by my side till the early morning light. All I'm taking is your time. Help me make it through the night. I don't care who's right or wrong. I don't try to understand. Let the devil take tomorrow. Lord, tonight I need a friend. Yesterday is dead and gone, and tomorrow's out of sight. And it's sad to be alone. You help me make it through the night. I don't care what's right or wrong. I don't try to understand. Let the devil take tomorrow. Lord, tonight I need a friend. Yesterday is dead and gone, and tomorrow's out of sight. Lord, it's sad to be alone. Help me make it through the night. If you made it to this point, I expect to see you on the sick parade tomorrow morning. I've got some largactal that should cure you. Tales from the jails.